activist in terms of political activists and had some kind of intimate knowledge of the process. They hired another guy to do the role that I went in for and was on the short list for and thought I had it because I knew John. I figured, well, this is going to be great. But there was some, what was it, James Jones? I don't know, but he had another deep voice. So I went in to audition for it and pretty much had it, and along comes Jones, who is also a dear friend, and he does a wonderful job in this. But the primary, in all seriousness, the reason I'm here is because this is one of the few films made about workers that involves African Americans, involves minority groups, in the labor movement, in the industrial labor movement, in the mining labor movement. Everyone sort of associates the work that people of color, particularly people of African ancestry, deal with as agricultural labor, as peasants, as people who do work on the farm. But there's a long history of black folks who have been members of unions. I'm a member of 4 of them myself, as a matter of fact, and especially brought in, sadly enough, in the early days of the movement, to be scabs. And I won't give away too much in terms of the film, but black workers were set against white workers, and who were largely immigrants who had come from Europe, and so there was always a clash. There was often a clash. This is a movie that intends to address that particular issue. And I think it does it very well. John Sayles is one of my favorite directors. And looking at and making sure that he told the story right with the involvement of people of color, people of conscience, and they happen to be the same folks in the film. To give you another sense of that, I want to tell one story. How many of you have ever heard of the Hawk's Nest incident, or the Hawk's Nest project? Is that a hand? Yeah. Hawk's Nest was a project in the 30s. They were trying to build a river outlet in West Virginia, and that they tried to do it by building a tunnel, and the tunnel went through a mountain that was almost pure silica. And so what happened was people started dying, literally dying from silicosis. And it was so bad that the workers who were in the general area, this is in the 30s, Roosevelt, all good, in the general area stopped working, and they brought in several thousand black agricultural workers to dig these tunnels. And it resulted in literally the worst industrial accident, they call it, in the history of the United States. The official count of people who died was about 107. The real count of people who died was probably over 2,000, who died from breathing this silicon as they were digging this mountain. It's one of those stories that I hope John Sayles picks up on and does a movie about, because I didn't know about it until, what, 5 or 6 years ago. That kind of history, that kind of common history in the labor movement, where black folks are involved not just as scabs, but also as people who are left to do the craft work, the dangerous work, and the deadly work. Some of that's here as well. The sad part is, I would love for us to sit around and talk about this afterwards, after you've seen the film, so we can talk about some of the stuff in it. But realize that you are looking at one of the finest examples of using our art, film art, theater art, as a way of telling America's stories. And I think telling America's stories is really the job of the artist, it's the job of the activist, and it is the job of all of us to pass those stories on. So thank you.